So Mike, I don't believe I looked at it yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm fine with it as long as, you know, to me it's continued upon, you know, Mike's approval.
The building inspector has to inspect it.
Well, he has,
Look at the pictures.
he has to make sure that it conforms with the bylaws and the application's fine. If he's fine with it, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so I'll take a motion to approve, contingent on the building inspector.
So moved.
Okay. all
Mr.
those in
Chairman,
favor say-
excuse me,
Yes.
I just have one simple question. I know this is a pre-existing building, and I don't think this will involve any trees or stone walls because Sugar Road is a scenic road. So it's all gonna be on the private property, right?
Right, there's no, right, it's just signage.
Thank you.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Next up is a request from Eric Shartner, 211 West Berlin Road, for a one-day beer and wine license on October 16, 2016, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the Taste of Days event with the Showboat Winery.
Yeah, and his wife is here, I believe.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Hi,
How are you? Hi.
I'm Kristen Turner.
Well,
Nice to see you. So this is just basically your
Yes, this
same thing you
is
do
the
every-
5th year we've teamed up with the winery for the Taste of Days event. It's been successful, so we're going to do it again. It's a big hit, and we do ask for like a license from 11 to 5. The event is 11 to 4, but we do have some people still at the farm for
Mhm.
the hour. So we do set it for the hour.
Okay. Sounds good to me. We've done it, they said it's, what, 5th year?
It's the 5th
Okay.
year.
Any questions?
no.
I'll take a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve request by Shartner Farms to have a one-day liquor license, October 16th, 2016, from 10 to 5.
Okay, that's actually just beer and wine, so.
Okay,
That's right.
sorry.
All right.
Amended.
All right, I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
It was easy.
Next up is a request,
Yeah, they heard it.
Yeah.
next up is a request from the Lions Club to hold a haunted corn maze on October 22nd at Shutter Farm, and request for approval of signs around the town. So,
I do expect someone here.
Yeah,
Here,
yes.
please. Okay.
come on down.
I'm Dave Foster, I live on Harvard Road. I'm the secretary of the Bolton Lions Club. And Carla called me, she got to this email earlier this afternoon, so I'm here representing Carla at the club. In conjunction with Andrews Helping Hands, which is a bone marrow cancer organization, we're like to host a haunted house, or a haunted road for me at Trucker Farms on the 22nd of October. We'd like to put up some signs around town that will be temporary. In particular, we'd like to put a 9x3 banner on the fence outside the school across the street, and some 8x24 signs that you can see around town for candidates. All signs will be temporary. They go up soon, and then take them down the day after the event.
And how many signs you?
We'd like to, we're looking at 10. Some ideas for placement would be 117 Wild Aquatic, 117 Sugar Road, in front of Dr. Davis' building at the corner of 117 and Sugar Road, perhaps the soccer field and perhaps the Memorial Field, and some other maybe the corner of Wild Aquatic and Berlin where the Trevor's Farms.
Where would you propose to place it at the intersection of 117 and 1 o'clock?
117 and 1 Aquatic. Either on the town common property, that would probably be the most appropriate locale.
I don't think we'll have any issue with this town property, but I would assume you just making sure you're getting permission from private protection. Okay. I mean, I'm good with it. I don't have a problem, Jonathan.
No,
Okay, then I'll take the motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Lions Club request to post signs for a haunted corn maze on October 22nd around town.
I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Great.
Thanks so much, thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Yes, please bring your cameras.
Okay. Do we have the audit advisory committee nominee here? Yeah. Not yet. Well, then why don't we go out of order and we'll do some town administrator stuff.
All right, update on Minuteman will be very brief, just a reminder for everyone that the vote did take place on September 20th, and it passed district-wide at a percentage of 70-30. The only town that it was defeated in was Belmont, who was the only town who defeated it when we went, when the vote took place in all 16 towns. And the vote in Belmont, I believe the percentage was either 81 or 82% that it passed by, so it was an overwhelmingly well received by most of the towns in the district. Building committee's already had one meeting, and since we're progressing with what's known as a construction manager at risk, we've already sought proposals for general contractors to apply for the project. We've received interest from either 7 or 8 GC companies, large, well-known companies, so we're very excited about the number of companies and the depth that they would bring to the project. So things are moving forward, and we've got meetings scheduled right through the end of the year right now.
Do we have any guesstimate on how much more it's gonna cost due to the delay?
Well, it's not gonna cost anymore. The cost stays at 144.9. What we haven't done yet is what we're gonna have to probably value engineer out of the project.
No, I understand, what we get is what we get, but the actual cost of the building is more now.
If we maintain the design we submitted, we're gonna have to reduce.
Right, you have to value engineer stuff out, so I mean, do we know what the value of that is?
No, we haven't done that yet.
Right.
That's several meetings to come.
Yeah, just so people understand, because of what Belmont did, and the fact that this was delayed, the money that we get remains the same, but the actual construction costs have been going up. So we only get the 144 whatever million. So we're now gonna have to value engineer and essentially pull things out of the building to meet that, the money that we got. So we can thank the town of Belmont for that.
And we may need to remove things, we may need to go with somewhat lower grade materials in some areas. You know, there'll be a lot of debating on that one, I'm sure. Next, the update on the meeting with the Department of Transportation. It was held Wednesday at, it was held Tuesday at 3 p.m. at the high school. We had very good turnout, along with Barry Lorian from DOT. We also had Jonathan Gulliver, who was the district director. And everyone who was invited did attend, so we had full turnout for that. In summary, and as I did last night, Jonathan, please fill in any gaps that I may leave. There was a lot of talk about things that we could do fairly quickly and things that would take more time. And certainly one of the things that we can do more quickly is to upgrade signage out there, have it much more visible. Whether it's the same signage that's updated, whether it's signage indicating different things. We had a meeting with Harold Brown this morning to discuss that. And we're working on researching that right now, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't have something done. You know, I mean, I would think we could have it done in a month. Hopefully we could get it done more quickly. Also talked about doing some trimming to improve the line of sight at the intersection at Green Road and 117, and DPW will be getting on that pretty quickly as well. Beyond that, we talked about, as we have before, talked about lining the streets differently, creating probably a 10.5-foot travel lane as opposed to what we have now. Some striping. In DOT's words, you know, we have way too much just open pavement out there right now, and we need to channelize the traffic, so we would look at probably some curbing, so you couldn't just access, for example, Classic Pizza any way you wanted. There would have to be entry points, and just a lot more structure there. Beyond relatively simple things like that, or what appear to be relatively simple things, what they strongly recommended was that the town hire a traffic engineering firm to put together proposed design and a plan to go with it, so that we can get to some of the more detailed things. But even the striping, and I thought I remembered this correctly, then I confirmed it this morning. Even the striping isn't as simple as just going out there and putting down new product. We need input from an engineer as to, how we're gonna lay everything out, how we're gonna where we're gonna put the lines down, how we're gonna do it, spot it, how the striping should work with that. So that's also something that won't happen perhaps as quickly as we would like, but there's a process that we should go through to make sure that it's all done correctly, because really what we're not doing just the lining, or like the fog lines in that area, for example. We should be doing it, further down as well. So again, a coordinated plan is really important there. But the lowest of the low-hanging fruit is the signage. We should be able to get that done very, very quickly. I think, Jonathan, what you spoke to last night, I think you can do a better job of that than I can.
At the Tri-Town meeting, I just recommended that the three towns, as well as the school committee, send a kind of a joint letter to Mass DOT, because there is a political component to this. Letting them know, how important, this intersection is for the town, but also for especially for the students, the student drivers. We were standing out there and we saw three teenagers walk across over to Classic Pizza. There was also, a car came to a quick stop. Chief Nelson talked about distracted drivers in that area. I think there was a truck that, somebody stopped at the post office, and the truck didn't see it in time and swerved and hit the post office sign. So it's a very dense, busy area because of the dump has 3 days, when people are most of the town is heading there. And then we have Bolton Youth Soccer. So it's really a dense area, and in the recent legislation, there was this ability to designate areas like this as safety zones. And so I just thought it would be good if we could write a letter requesting, as they're considering that legislation and how to enact it, consider designating this area as a safety zone.
And just to add to one of the comments that Jonathan made, when the chief talked about the cause of accidents down there, he said that the two main causes of accidents down there are distracted driving and also following too close. That speed has not been a factor in the majority, but it just goes to show the density of the traffic that we have down there.
Mary Chumo, Corn Road. I also attended the meeting, and what Barry Lorraine he referred to as the low-hanging fruit was to make the striping changes, the travel lane to 10.5 feet, the signage improvements. And he did say that you really want to do it as a whole. You don't want to do it in pieces, and he did say that an engineer would be necessary, but he also said it wouldn't be terribly expensive.
Correct.
So my question is, can we get this done? If it's a money issue, can we get this on for town meeting in May so that we can move forward with this?
I don't see why not, but, we need to come up with an RFP
We do. Well, we need to solicit firms. I believe that the companies that we'd be looking at, I don't know that we would need to, they're recommended by DOT, and I know we don't have to bid it unless we choose to, and some of these firms may be on state contract for all I know.
Right.
So Harold is going to be meeting with DOT, I believe, next week, with the people who will be recommending the firms that we look at, and then start making some calls to get a sense for what we're looking at for pricing. You know, we want to move on this as quickly as we can.
Any other questions? Okay.
Our candidate is here.
Yeah, I think we'll switch back to the previous agenda item, which is the appointment of the audit committee advisory representative, joint meeting with the advisory committee.
Okay, bud.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So you want to sign up, huh?
Again.
Again?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Really well.
No, that's great, that's great. So, do we need any statement or comment from the advisory committee?
Not really. I mean, it's a joint meeting of the two boards for this. Heather did serve in the role last year
Yeah.
and is anxious to serve again. She did submit an email expressing her interest. We did advertise the position and no one else has expressed interest.
Okay, just you answered all my questions. No, I think it's great that you're re-upping. Appreciate that. I'm perfectly fine. And any other comments?
That's good.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to appoint Heather back to the advisory audit committee. Audit advisory committee.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you.
That's all the discussions we had.
Back to the town administrator's
Yeah,
report.
sure.
Okay, an update on Camp Virginia. I was going to report that not much had changed, but I spoke with Ken Troop about 5 o'clock or so, and Ken organized a visit to Camp Virginia with a key person from the Girl Scouts this afternoon, and I know that we won't be taking any action on anything tonight without a full board, but I suggested that perhaps Ken could give a very brief update, just so
Sure.
Jonathan and you can be aware of what took place this afternoon.
Sure. Yeah, please.
What I did is to put together a few bullets, and I have a map. Also, Linda, I'll give you mine afterwards. I actually had something that I wrote that I didn't bring, but very briefly, Bob Romer and Dan Gaffney and Elizabeth Shopke and Ellie Vanatko of the Conservation Trust and I met with Barbara Fortier, who is the person at the Girl Scouts who is responsible for all the properties. And the bottom line is that they want to preserve the land. That properties they've sold in the past have preserved the land and have created for them a positive cash flow, which is sort of nice. So they don't have a financial burden that they need to unload the land right away. And she felt that if we were working toward a plan, kept open communications with her, that, and in particular, gave her some kind of feedback for a meeting of her board of directors at the end of November, that there was no reason that over the next year or so, we would be able to work with us to come up with some kind of arrangement to eventually purchase the land in some form or other, a combination of conservation trust or sub-rebellion trustees, or whoever, but whatever mechanism to be determined, but that there could be a plan. She'd be happy to meet with you guys, she'd be happy to meet with any committees in the town. And I've included a map there that she gave to us, which is the map that they provided the properties. There are a lot more buildings there than I had thought, and that's both good and bad, but it's part of what we do. So after the last meeting, I put out some correspondence in the newspapers and on Facebook looking for people who might be interested in helping out, and I have 8 names. that are interested for you guys to consider for next week or whatever it is that you want to appoint. Several of us met upstairs before this, and so there's a lot of interest in working on this and essentially trying to put together a plan and put together all of the information about what it would take to do it, what the cost would be, what would be done in the way of development if that were the alternative and things of that sort. And the people are David Wiley, Margaret Campbell, Emily Winter of Baldwin Road, Michelle and Logan Chiefto of Harvard Road, Don Vespa of Wilder Road, Fanny Griffin and myself. So there are 8 possible people who could be involved in this. And but I guess the important thing in this is Barbara's clear willingness to work with us over the next year and not have a drop dead date at the end of December and not need to have a special town meeting this fall, that we can work into the spring and really work through this and figure out what we want to do and how we're going to do it, and look at all the pros and cons. So it was,
No, that's great.
for me, it was a very good meeting.
Well, it certainly gives a lot
So
of.
I'll give you the one that has a list of all the people on it, so that you'll have that, and you can put that into your minutes and things of that sort.
One really great thing that comes out of this is if we had rushed to have a special town meeting in December, I can't imagine any way the open space plan would have been done by then.
Right.
And while the grant doesn't get submitted until next year, to be able to present to the town that the open space plan has been done, which
Right.
makes us much more competitive in that grant, I think would give folks, a better feeling about our ability to attract the grant money. So I think that's really good. But just as a takeaway, I will be putting together something that you'll see in advance of the next meeting. But I made a reference at a previous meeting that it's likely that we're going to need a special town meeting, and that likeliness doesn't go away.
Right.
This means that Camp Virginia will have more time before
Yeah, I think it's much better to have this extra time as opposed to trying to rush.
So,
Explore options.
So the group of names that Linda has are all interested in doing that. There's actually other interests besides, but those people are actually interested in serving, and the folks that I talked with upstairs seem quite interested in doing this. So if you are of a mind to appoint us at some point, then that would be great, and we'll report back to you frequently, stay in close touch with Barbara, and bring in all of the other folks. And the Conservation Trust people are quite interested in participating as well. I'm not sure if they want to have anybody on the committee right now because of their being overcommitted on the common, but they were enthusiastic in the meeting. They actually set up the meeting. I found out about it when I was at a common meeting and invited myself, but it's really good, and she seems very interested in working.
No, good. I mean, that's great.
I think it's very good.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda for the next meeting. That's the only reason why we wouldn't take action. But we'll do it since Tom's not here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Any questions?
Thank you.
So that covers Camp Virginia and the discussion of the formation of a subcommittee. We'll put that on for a vote for the next meeting when we're on full board. And the last sub-bullet under Camp Virginia was discussion regarding the Conservation Preservation Act, or the CPA, and Jonathan had requested that we add that on there for discussion, so I'll turn it over to you.
Is that conservation or community?
It's community.
Oh, I'm sorry, community, sorry.
I just thought, it's a lot to put on one subcommittee, but I just thought there's some, commonalities between this effort and the Community Preservation Act. We have a lot of potential things coming up that could benefit from money from the Community Preservation Act.
It's certainly worth talking about, yeah.
This would be one of them. So I just wanted to get that out there, start that discussion.
I think that's probably, we need to get advisory involved in that discussion, because the way it was before was, we have to set aside, we have to raise taxes in order to set aside money and to match whatever level. And I don't know what those levels are now. It used to be between 1% and 3%
I think
years
it's
ago. I don't know what the deal was, so.
I don't know if the state's currently still doing the full match either, so.
I know that they were early on, but, you know, unfortunately, we had two bites of the apple and we didn't get there twice, so, I mean, I think, you know, looking at that and some other things which we've passed over in the past, we might want to discuss that as well, but, you know, maybe we should have a little more detailed discussion with advisory, maybe do a joint meeting and see where they are. Yes, Mary?
3 times the charm. I've heard from other towns that there's still a lot of money out there, and we've missed out by passing it down twice.
Oh, I know.
But we can still benefit from it. It definitely is a good thing.
Oh, no, if we can get some benefit out of it, I think all for it. I think, you know, where the stigma was is that, you know, we have to raise taxes in order to meet the match, and that was a big sticking point with a lot of people, so. Well, let's try again. I'm all for trying again. I've wanted to bring it back up many times, so we'll give it another shot.
So unless the board has any other questions for me, that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. All right, up next is Board of Selectmen business, and first up within this portion of the program is the common victual license for the Bolton Bean.
How's
it going? How are
How you
you?
doing?
Randy
Madison. Travis Madison.
This is nice.
So too much coffee?
Yeah.
I can attest to the coffee and the blueberry muffin.
Oh, good.
And I can attest to lunch, so.
Good, good. Yeah. It's been good so far, so. Good food and everything. Good, good.
So do we have one to approve,
You
or?
do, yes, they're common victular,
Okay.
yes, so you just,
Well,
maybe you would approve that and,
Okay.
you know, so.
Okay, no, I think, I'm fine with it. I think we should just go ahead and sign our lives away.
So what, just as education, victual license is free?
Yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
We can make a motion to approve the common victualler license for the Bolton Bean.
I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
So I'll get the paperwork, I'll do that, and you guys can pick it up next week,
Okay.
okay?
What's that?
Yeah.
All right. I wrote a check for you guys, 20.
Oh, I'll take it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if I was dropping off.
Oh, we'll always,
No,
hey,
that's
no,
fine.
let's do this
I'll
money.
take it down.
Never have to worry about
She'll
it.
take it money.
This
This
weekend.
weekend, next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See you.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah.
Give me this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care,
Take
guys.
care.
Next up is to execute the pouring license for the Neshoba Valley Winery.
Wow, it's a wet town.
Must be apples, no,
Works for me.
I was wondering if you were gonna come with this. I was given strict instructions not to,
That's a big
yeah,
piece of
yes,
violation.
it is.
So, I mean, so we just have to execute.
Yeah, so ABCC approved the pouring license, and now we're just,
We just have to sign.
we
So
just
we
have
just-
to sign.
Had an expedited license, was it?
Yeah.
Social media was waiting in the wings.
Did the governor drop it off while he was visiting last week?
Should they take a motion on, or?
Do we?
Actually, no,
No?
no,
Okay.
they've already voted to approve it.
Okay.
That's right, we did that. Cool.
Do you want this tonight, or can you make me a copy of it? Can you make me a copy, please? We got a copy machine.
Has it-
Is it got a machine up there?
Right
It's
here.
right behind you.
Yes, it's, look at that. My God. Oh, we should have the meeting. So,
I don't know if it's for
I
Dave.
don't think that works. You can try, but I don't think it works. But We have a copier upstairs you can use.
Upstairs.
You wanna do that?
You know what?
I can take you, I can take you up there.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, but you don't necessarily know where it is, and the room may be locked.
The lock part would probably be more challenging
I
than
think that's on this agenda.
locating it.
And we've really, that's. Okay, so, and because Mr. Frayne is not able to participate tonight, the executive session scheduled for 7:40 will not take place tonight. Do you have any more? Any more business? Okay, well, now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We never get home before the football.
Very good.
Good night, everybody.
Very good. Nice seeing you, Linda.
Nice to see you, Maria.
Don, did you see in here?
We
there
need to
was,
look at the plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Hunt.
Just they mentioned grants for small bridges.
Yeah, I've already looking into that.
Great.
Actually spoke with Kate, spoke with an engineer. What I asked, I haven't got an answer yet.
Do you know who that is?
It's a secret.
Yeah, hold on.
What I asked is if a culvert is considered to be a bridge.
Well, there's a culvert, but that's a land bridge. Yeah.
The other thing is the bridge can't be